What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Loreverse. Today, we're diving into one of the most underrated but absolutely crucial pieces of James Gunn's new DCU, and that is Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. Now, at first glance, you might think that this is just another superhero origin story, but trust me, it's so much more than that. This movie isn't just important, it's vital to the future of the DCU. It's going to shape the tone of the cosmic side of the universe, and it could directly set the stage for Superman, Man of Tomorrow. So let's break down why Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow might secretly be one of the most important DCU projects yet. Now, first, let's talk about the placement because that alone tells you how important this movie is. James Gunn has said himself, Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow is going to be one of the very first films in Chapter 1 Gods and Monsters. In fact, it's the second movie in the new DCU slate following Superman Man of Tomorrow. And that's a huge deal because historically, second movies in superhero universes are where world building really starts, right? Think about Iron Man 2 for the MCU. That's where S.H.I.E.L.D. was expanded and the bigger universes started to connect. That's what Supergirl represents here. It's not just her story, it's a gateway to the larger DCU. And there's a reason Gunn wants her up front so early because while Superman is the foundation, the hopeful classic hero we all know, Supergirl brings contrast, complexity, and a different kind of Kryptonian story that the DCU desperately needs to feel fresh. James Gunn has emphasized that this version of Kara Zor-El is not the bubbly, sunshine-filled cousin we've seen in some versions. This Supergirl grew up on a chunk of Krypton that drifted through space after the planet exploded. She watched everyone she loved die. She lived in isolation, hardened by trauma. She didn't have the upbringing that Clark had on Earth. And that's going to give us a completely different dynamic, a Supergirl who's powerful, angry, and deeply human in her pain. And that difference is key because the contrast between Superman and Supergirl will let the DCU explore new layers of Kryptonian identity, morality, and power. And it's the perfect storytelling setup for when these two eventually come together for a whole entire movie, right? Which brings us to one of the biggest reasons why this movie matters. It's very likely that Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, will directly tie into Superman, Man of Tomorrow. James Gunn has hinted that these two characters will eventually share the big screen together. And in the comics, their dynamic is one of the most powerful relationships in DC. Clark is the symbol of hope and optimism. Kara is the survivor who had to fight for every breath. Their partnership and sometimes tension defines what the House of L stands for. By introducing Kara first in her own movie, Gunn is giving her the space to become fully realized before she's ever compared to Superman in some way. Then, when they do come together in possibly Superman Man of Tomorrow, or a Justice League level event, their contrast will hit even harder. And let's not forget, Supergirl is family to Superman. Setting her up early strengthens Clark's emotional core and gives future Superman stories more depth. This isn't just a side character, right? This is a foundational place of the DCU's emotional DNA. But maybe the most exciting part, Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow is expected to take us deep into space because this isn't a small scale earthbound story. The movie is based on Tom King's critically acclaimed comic run, which is basically a cosmic road trip story with Kara mentoring a young alien girl seeking revenge. And that means new planets, alien civilizations, and galactic scale storytelling all right at the start of the DCU. And that is huge stuff because while the MCU didn't really go cosmic until Guardians of the Galaxy, James Gunn is doing it almost immediately here. And this opens up the door to us, seeing the Green Lantern core, right? The new gods, and maybe even villains like Brainiac or Mongol in future stories. Shoot, we are getting Lobo already, right? So that is already a space character. And Supergirl could be the first step in building the cosmic side of the DCU that will eventually collide with Earth-based heroes. Now, here's something that people don't talk about enough. James Gunn is positioning Supergirl strategically. Now, think about this. He's launching the DCU with Superman, the most iconic hero ever. Then instead of going straight into Batman or Wonder Woman, he's choosing Supergirl, and that's intentional. He's signaling that his universe is going to be different. It's not going to follow the same exact path the DCEU or the MCU. He wants to show us a new side of Krypton, a new side of heroism, and a new kind of character arc. And remember, Gunn is a storyteller who loves deep character work. He turned the Guardians of the Galaxy from unknowns into household names. If he's putting this much emphasis on Supergirl early, you better believe he has big plans for her long term, likely as one of the key pillars of the Justice League down the line. So let's recap this, okay? Supergirl is the second chapter of the new DCU and sets the tone for what's to come. It gives us a different kind of Kryptonian story, one that challenges and complements Superman. It likely connects directly to Man of Tomorrow and future crossover stories. It expands the DCU into space, setting up cosmic storytelling from the jump, and James Gunn has positioned it strategically as a core piece of its universe's foundation. Now, this movie is way bigger than people realize, and if it lands, it could define the entire future of the DCU. Now, I want to know what you guys think. Could Supergirl be the sleeper hit of Chapter 1, and how do you feel about this darker, more hardened version of Kara? Let's talk in the comments about this. And if you enjoyed this breakdown here, hit that like button, subscribe for more deep dives into the DCU, and I'll see you in the next one. Stay crispy.